The night she decided her life was never going to change began with rain hammering against the windows like the world was reminding her how trapped she was. Claire Whitmore sat by the edge of her bed, the metal frame of her wheelchair cold under her fingers, while the sound of laughter drifted from the hallway of the shared home where she lived with 3 distant cousins. She wasn't invited to whatever late-night plans they were making, and she wasn't surprised. Ever since the accident that took her ability to walk 2 years ago, people around her treated her like a burden wrapped in sympathy. But tonight, something different stirred in her chest, a strange mix of loneliness and a quiet ache for something more. She didn't know that, miles away, a plan was already being formed that would change everything she thought she knew about herself, and about others. She didn't know someone powerful was about to enter her life in the most unexpected and unbelievable way. If you believe in kindness, compassion, and second chances, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us bring more stories that touch hearts. Claire's life had narrowed into routines. Morning therapy, afternoon at the small public library where she volunteered, evenings helping her aunt's kids with homework, nights spent wondering whether her dreams were still allowed to exist. Before the accident, she had been a passionate architectural student at UCLA, full of plans larger than life. She imagined designing buildings that made people feel something, hope, warmth, possibility. But now, she felt invisible in a world that moved faster than she could. People met her eyes only to offer pity, or worse, to avoid seeing her at all. She had learned to lower her gaze first so no one had to look away. Her cousins, Monica and Jenna, weren't cruel, just careless with her feelings. They believed they were helping when they meddled. That's what they told themselves, at least. So when they heard that Alexander Hart, the young CEO of Hartwell Industries, was rumored to be attending a charity event alone, they devised a plan they believed was hilarious. They entered Claire's photo, one taken before her accident, into a silent auctions mystery date experience. A fundraiser gimmick. Light-hearted. Silly. But they didn't mention the wheelchair. They didn't mention her current life. They didn't mention anything real. It was meant to be a joke among them, never expecting that the powerful CEO would actually choose her number. And when he did, they panicked. The next evening, Monica burst into Claire's room with what she called exciting news, though her voice shook. She said Claire had won a raffle for a free dinner at the Ashford, the most expensive restaurant in the city. Claire didn't question it. She wanted desperately, achingly, to feel normal for one night. To wear one of the dresses she kept at the back of her closet. To be something besides the quiet girl who rolled through hallways unnoticed. She felt hope brewing despite herself. Maybe this was the universe giving her a sliver of joy. She spent hours preparing. She wore a soft lavender dress that fell gracefully even as she sat, and she curled her chestnut hair until it framed her face in gentle waves. She looked at her reflection, and for the first time in a long time, she thought she looked beautiful. Not beautiful considering, just beautiful. But Monica and Jenna were drowning in guilt. They insisted on driving her, just to make sure everything went smoothly. What they really wanted was to witness the moment everything blew up, then apologize afterward, saying it had all been a misunderstanding. They told themselves Claire would laugh it off. That she would finally see how absurdly kinder the world was than she believed. But they were wrong. The moment Claire arrived at the Ashford, her heart fluttered nervously. The golden glow of chandeliers reflected in the glass walls like scattered stars. The valet opened the car door, his expression respectful and steady as he helped her wheelchair onto the smooth pavement. She breathed in deeply. She felt a thrill of anticipation she hadn't felt in years. Inside, she paused at the entrance of the dining hall, scanning the tables for anyone who looked like they were expecting her. That's when she saw him. Alexander Hart. Tall, impeccably dressed, with the quiet confidence of someone who had carried immense responsibility long enough for it to become familiar. His dark hair was slightly tousled, as if he had run a hand through it one too many times on a stressful day. But his eyes were what caught her, deep, intense, assessing the room with a kind of loneliness she recognized. He looked like someone used to being surrounded by people yet never truly seen. He stood as she approached. And then the moment Monica and Jenna feared unfolded. Confusion flickered across his face as he recognized the wheelchair. Claire felt the temperature of the room drop. Felt humiliation rise like a painful tide. She realized, in an instant, that he hadn't been told. That this wasn't a raffle. This wasn't kindness. This wasn't fate. This was a setup. Her hands trembled against her wheels. Her cousins watched from a corner table, guilt painted across their faces. She felt anger, betrayal, embarrassment, but underneath all of it, the worst emotion of all, the belief that she deserved this. That people could play with her feelings because they assumed she had none worth protecting. She whispered an apology and began to turn away, heart fracturing with every inch she moved back toward the exit. But then something happened that neither she nor her cousins expected. Alexander stepped forward with a suddenness that made several heads turn. His expression softened, the confusion replaced by something warmer, compassion, understanding, and what almost looked like protectiveness. He walked toward her, gently placing a hand on her shoulder, and guided her back toward him. In that moment, he made it clear that she was not leaving. Not like this. His actions were deliberate, graceful, unmistakably kind. He pulled out her chair space at the table, ensured her wheelchair fit perfectly, and offered her a menu like nothing unusual had taken place. And though he didn't speak it aloud, the way he carried himself said everything. No one gets to humiliate you. Not tonight. Not ever. Claire felt her throat tighten. For the first time in years, someone defended her without being asked. Dinner began awkwardly but settled into something surprisingly warm. Alexander shared stories about the charity projects he supported, the long hours he spent building his company from scratch, and the loneliness that came with leadership. Claire spoke about her love for architecture, the accident, the dreams she still clung to even when they felt distant. He listened, not with pity, but with genuine interest. As if her words mattered. As if she mattered. Her cousins watched, stunned, as the man they had expected to walk away was instead leaning forward with gentle admiration in his eyes. As the evening continued, Claire noticed something else. Alexander wasn't just being polite. He was captivated by her strength, her wit, her insight. And she was surprised to find herself enjoying the company of someone who seemed to see past every layer she hid behind. By the time dessert arrived, her initial embarrassment had melted into a fragile but growing spark of confidence. She felt almost weightless. But guilt gnawed at her. She told him the truth before the night ended. She confessed that she hadn't known it was a blind date. That her cousins had set her up as a joke. That he was never meant to choose her photo, but somehow he had. She expected anger. Disinterest. A polite excuse to leave. Instead, Alexander's expression turned stern in a way that wasn't directed at her. He glanced toward Monica and Jenna, then back at Claire, and the look in his eyes was nothing short of unwavering. His voice held warmth and conviction as he told her she deserved better, better treatment, better people, better belief in herself. The night ended with him offering to drive her home. Not out of pity. Out of something far more sincere. He walked beside her the entire way, pushing her wheelchair when her arms grew tired, making sure she felt safe. And for the first time in a long time, Claire felt seen, not for her limitations, but for her heart. Over the next several weeks, Alexander kept in touch. He invited her to art galleries that featured architectural marvels, to rooftop gardens overlooking the city, to small coffee shops where they sat for hours discussing life, loss, and resilience. Each meeting chipped away at the layers of doubt she carried. She began believing in possibilities again. She began believing in herself again. But not everyone approved. Rumors spread online about the CEO being seen with a girl in a wheelchair, as if her disability defined her worth. Some